About 2 months ago, the Spirit led me to start talking about anxiety. And we had a prepared message, but in the weight of the heaviness that was in the house, we talked about anxiety. And one of the things that we talked about is how it affects us mentally, emotionally, and physically. Anybody ever just found yourself sitting in your room and you just had this headache? Your eyes start twitching, you start shaking, you had trouble sleeping, getting a good 5, 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep at night because you couldn't shut your brain off. Anybody hated to get out of bed, couldn't stand going to work. Anybody ever thought you didn't want to be bothered with people? Don't ask me nothing. Don't look at me at all. Don't look at me. Don't breathe on me. I just don't want to be bothered. Because it felt like the weight of life was sitting on your shoulders. You were just so stressed out. And then somebody who had nothing to do with it just walked along and said, hey, and you just snapped at them. What's so good about today? Your wife showed up, they just want to have a little decent conversation, but you snap it. Because stress and anxiety has weighed you down. I was doing a little research before they got here. I think I posted this a couple of times. 21.3% of adults are dealing with some type of mental health condition. Just think about that. 1 in 5 of us are dealing with some type of mental health condition. 16% of us have some type of substance use disorder. That means we pop in some type of pill to get through our day. And the thing about our children, in this study by the University of North Carolina, it said 1 in every 3 high school students, 33.3% of students have poor mental health. So if you got a house of 4 or 5 kids, one of them kids, at least one of them are dealing with something. You got a classroom full of 21 kids, 7 kids are dealing with poor mental health. Then think about how many of those are contemplating committing suicide. Because they don't feel like life is worth the living. But I tell you this morning, life is worth living. And as a church in general, I want to talk about us. It's just me saying, trust Jesus is not enough.
That's right.
Y'all say, well, Jesus is everything. Yeah, he is. And Paul says, be anxious for nothing, but through prayer and supplication, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. I believe that thoroughly. But I also believe that we can utilize some tools that would help us deal with the stress, deal with the anxiety, deal with the depression. And if there's something physiologically going on with us, there's some tools that we can get. Instead of us waiting until we find ourselves in the midst of it and calling on his name. What if we can see it coming? What if we can understand ourselves or who we are and begin to address those issues? But that's why we're here. I just want to give you church talk. We just don't want to give you church talk all the time. Baby, it's going to be all right. Jesus going to take care of it. Jesus loves you. It's going to be all right. Then you go home and you're crying all night long, stressed out. We say, just pray, baby. Yeah, pray. But there are tools that we can use. Let's use our tools. Amen. So we brought Carla, come on, Carla, and the Compassionate Companion. And we partner with them. They talk about this stuff all the time. And they address these issues within our school system, and with our county, within our families. So we're going to welcome them into our house. And we're going to have open minds. Open minds, open hearts to receive what God wants to say through them. Amen. Ready to receive. Y'all ready to receive? You ready to receive? Hold your hands up. It's not going like this. It's not grand. I want to receive. I got some growth I want to do. Amen. I just want to receive on the day. Amen. Welcome, Carl.
Good morning. Good morning. Nope. Oh, good morning.
Turn me up right there.
Good morning, church.
Good morning.
Hope everybody's doing well this morning. We're so happy to be here today. I had this whole talk prepared, but Pastor gave you all the statistics and everything else. I don't know what to say into that. So instead, I just want to share a little bit of my story and introduce my amazing team, and then we're going to jump into it. So I stand before you as a person who has diagnoses of anxiety and depression. It's considered situational, but it's still going, and I'll give you the background of that. So some years ago, I became a foster mom, and I had this beautiful little baby. He was 10 days old, 2 months premature, and I loved him. And for 6 months, we lived, did the skin to skin and everything. It was beautiful. And then at 6 months, the courts decided he should go back to his birth mother. That was always a chance. He was child number 11, and she had lost her other 10 children. So I had concerns. So I let my foster license expire, and then I co-parented with her on my own outside the system for 6 years. In those 6 years, and I'm gonna generalize this because we have some young ears in the room, it was very traumatic. It introduced me to this concept of intergenerational trauma. And for the adults in the room, you'll be hearing more about that shortly. But basically, it was, if you can imagine being in a situation where you could never exhale, you had to hold your breath all the time, and you were waiting for the next, what's the next crisis, what's the next emergency, and there was always something. So I'm going to tell you this part of the story because my lead facilitator over here is looking at me like, if you don't tell this part of the story, I'm going to tell it. So I'm going to tell you. So fast forward to when our son was 5. One day we were driving down the street. I was the driver, his birth mom was the passenger, and he was in the back seat. Now, mind you, I don't know if you can tell or not, but I'm pretty outgoing. By this time, though, I had become very quiet. I was just trying to keep the peace. Anybody in here a people pleaser? Okay, so you get what I'm saying. Just trying to keep things smooth. You don't want to, rock the boat at all. But something got in me that day, and I decided to do something different. So I spoke up. I don't even know what the topic was. And her reaction was shocking, and for me, it was traumatic. She hit me across the face. It felt like as hard as she possibly could while I'm driving. So for me, that was traumatic. And you're gonna learn more about that later. So I usually ask people, what do you think I did? But I'm not gonna ask you that. I'm just gonna tell you what I did. So all this time, for 5 years, I had been trying to fix it, trying to show her that she could actually trust somebody. I was doing all kinds of things that were outrageous, just being honest with you. And this day I just realized all this control I was trying to have was doing nothing but helping her get sicker. It was enabling her substance use disorder. It was enabling all the wrong things, all in the hope of keeping him safe because the situation was very volatile. So instead of doing all the things people may think I might have thought I would do, I pulled over And I hit my knees and I just said, God, show me the way. Because my way is not working. And things started changing after that. A lot. So I'm a big believer in prayer with works. We can't do it on our own, but we have to learn how to ask for help too. So all those things for me come together. So I'm gonna fast forward. We got past that situation when my son was 6. He tried to die by suicide. He was 6 years old. He, at the time, was the youngest child in behavioral health. Since then, they've had a 3-year-old. So, as Pastor said, don't think these tough topics and heavy burdens are not on our kids, because they are. So, through that, I ended up getting emergency custody and I ended up adopting my son. His name is JC. Thank you. I accept the applause. Thank you. Thank you. And now 16 years old, he's got a beard and everything else. That's a whole different conversation. But the point is that he experienced so much trauma as a child. It's still with him. The trauma I experienced was still with me, and despite the master's degrees and all this, I did not know how to parent my child because of the trauma he endured. And in each one of these breakout sessions we do, you're going to learn a little more about how we can cope and how we can process our hurt, because if we keep it inside,
Talk to us.
It's going to implode or explode.
Talk to us.
So, okay. So, no, but in all seriousness, it was easy for me to go hard for my son and ask for help for him. I mean, I didn't take no for an answer, not the first, second, or third time. But I had to learn the same thing for myself.
That's good.
And so, if you don't get anything else out of today, I want you to focus on self. If you're an adult, think about that little kid inside of you that has some hurt and pain. And one of the other things I want to say, so how did I get from that to stand up on this stage today? I started writing. I wrote a book called Journey to the Sun, S-O-N. I'm like, okay, now I've shared our story. That's great. But that's information. It's just telling you my story. So then I started writing more, and I started bringing people in because I can't do everything myself. The other thing I would say, learn to ask for help. So I'm gonna ask Quadasia Prescott to raise your hand. So Quadasia is the illustrator of my books. I have just submitted my 5th book for publication. Thank you. We start off with a book called My Big Notebook that we have here for our young little kids. And Quadasia is the illustrator. Anaja is, raise your hand. Anaja has helped develop our curriculum. She's an editor. Next to them is Quatavia Jones, our lead facilitator, and the mama of these 2 young ladies. Next to her is her husband, Kyle Jones, the daddy of these talented young ladies. Then we have Tabitha, raise your hand. Tabitha is a new facilitator on our team, so go easy on her, but she's gonna be awesome, I already know. Then we have Carl, raise your hand, Carl. And then we have Layla. And Layla not only facilitates with us, and everybody here does other things, but Layla also does mental health first aid training and things that might be good for the church here that might be supported. So I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to my story. JC, like I said, is 16 and he's doing much better. But let me tell you real quick about me. So I lost that 40 pounds I gained through all that stress and trauma, because you know we can eat our way through or starve ourselves through situations. I also went into crazy debt. Because I don't know if I said, I bought them a house and I paid for everything in the house. So what happened to my credit card debt and my bank account? My credit card debt went up, my bank account went down. But I had to ask for help, and I found somebody to help me through that. And then I had alienated myself from my friends and family, so I had to reconnect and get that support because no man can function on like if they're on an island, right? We need help and support. So with that, we came to bring you some tools. I was going to introduce you to the tools, but I think you've heard enough from me. So I'm going to ask you to, the little kids are going to go with Miss Layla and Miss Tabitha. They're waving their hands in the back. You all come on up, come on up, come on up, come on, come on. Come on up, everybody come up so you can see who you're going with. So Layla and Tabitha are going to take the little kids. Y'all can come all the way up. Come on, hurry up. Come on, y'all. I don't know why they're acting shy. So this is Miss Layla and this is Miss Tabitha. They're gonna take the little kids. So actually, if you wanna take them, that's cool, thank you. And then we have Carl and Anaja are taking the teens and young adults. So teens and young adults, you can go with Carl and Anaja. Quadasia, don't run away. Quadasia is gonna kind of be floating around, you know, our illustrator. She's a teacher also. So she's gonna make sure everybody's straight. And then the adults are gonna stay here in the room with our lead facilitator, Quatavia, and Kyle. Yes, you have a question?
They said, what's the age limit for the young adult?
Well, there's not an age limit. You all can go. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, thank you. So with that, I'm gonna turn the mic, where are you going? Turn the mic over to you, ma'am. This is not shy, Quatavia Jones. Thanks, everybody.
That's our founder. Can y'all hear me if I don't use the mic? No? I gotta use the mic? Okay, I gotta use the mic. So she introduced me. I am Quatavia Jones, and I'm a part of this work because I'm a survivor of New York City foster care system. My parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, as far as I know, were all alcohol and substance abuse. And for me, it just wasn't gonna be an option. I come from a legacy of teen moms. My mom had me when she was 15. I don't really know too much about the grandparents because I ended up being adopted. But I said it wasn't gonna be what I did with my kids. So I fought the city to make sure my daughter was not a part of the system, because when you're a minor and you have a baby, the baby automatically becomes a ward of the state, and that was not an option for us. So in order to keep her with me, I had to fight the system, show them I could take care of me and her, and I did. We won, and we were emancipated. We got married and had 6 or 5 more kids. We are a family, a big family. And I found this work with Carla interesting because at the time, JC had not been adopted yet. And working with them, I had never seen a foster mother invest in her foster kids the way I saw Carla invested. I was molested in my first foster home. So living in a crack den with my biological mother, I was safe, because you know, when you're in your hood, you're in your hood and you're safe for what safety looks like. My first foster home, I was molested there, and every foster home after that, there was abuse that I didn't endure in the crack den with my mother. So to watch her show up for real was interesting to me. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna support. She's doing a thing that I've never seen done before. I'm gonna support. Whatever we need to do, we'll do. My kids are a blessing. They are generational. We are all generational curse breakers because, you know, we're married, we went to school. My mom had a 5th grade education. My dad, maybe 6th grade education. My girls are, I didn't graduate, but I have all of their degrees. So every degree that they got, I say I have, so they all have their degrees. And it is, you know, it's great works, and we get to go into spaces and remind people that you're more than your circumstances, right? That God is good. I met the Lord when I was 13. He he reminded me that he had always been there in me getting through and getting out of things and making it through and making it out of things and being covered and getting out of things. So I've always had a relationship, not understanding what to do and what I could do. And, you know, Christ qualifies you. He allows you to go into spaces that I don't have the degree got me into. I get to teach people with doctor's degrees because I know that I'm covered. So this is a big moment for me and my family because this is the first time my husband's gonna do this work with us. And the girls, you know, we get together and hang out with Carla and we get to go in these places, but there is a work in here. So we'll be talking about intergenerational trauma. We'll be talking about acceptance, awareness, and advocacy. We'll be talking about what that looks like for Black and brown people in particular, right? Because we have a way that we do things regardless from where you grew up at. There's certain things that just kind of go across the board. So as you guys are getting your paperwork, we will all be working from the same paperwork. We're gonna give you a moment to look through and we're gonna have some fun. I'm gonna ask you to stand up every now and again. But if you be open, you'll walk away with something. You'll learn something, you'll share. I'm gonna be as transparent as I know to be because that's how you get through some things. Like, I'm not a person who is a what happens in my room stays in my room kind of person, and you'll learn that about me during this time. I'm gonna give Kyle a moment to come up and say who he is and why he's doing this with us. So this is Kyle Jones, and he had hair when I let him know.
A lot of hair.
A lot.
Had a lot of hair. 6 kids later. Like she said, this is my first time. And she's always been inviting me to do this, right? And for me, this is the perfect setting because, you know, they go into the school system. But one thing about the school system, you can't talk about God. They took God out of schools. And when they did that, all of this stuff started coming in. When they took God out, they created a void, right? And that void, something has to fill that void. There's no such thing as an empty space, you know, so something had to fill that void. So now we look at it, we dealing with trauma, we dealing with mental illness, that's what filled the void. So I love coming here because while we talk about this, we can also talk about God. You know, I have a saying, it's either God's way or the wrong way. And that's what it boils down to. You know, and like Pastor said, there are tools that we have. Sometimes and I want to keep this short because I'm going to get started. But I'm a little nervous. I don't normally talk in front of people, so I'm holding my breath while I'm talking. Breathe. Okay. We're going to do some of that too, probably. But sometimes I had to learn that there are certain things that God just allows, right? And when He allows it, we know that it works together for good. So there's a reason why He's allowing it. Like, and we'll talk about it later. We have 6 kids, and like you said, 1 in 5 kids. So chances are, if you have a full household, there's somebody going through something. We have somebody. We have a daughter that's dealt with bipolar, dealt with depression, dealt with, you know, suicide. And I always tell her, you're going through this for a reason. And the reason you're going through this, and this goes for all of us, is we have to get on the other side. So we can, because it's our job, our purpose to go back and help somebody who's going through the same thing. I don't know how to talk to somebody who's in deep depression because I've never been there. But I can talk to men that is dealing with 6 kids and a wife, and you really don't know what to do. And you know, you ask God for the answers, He gives them to you. You see yourself on the other side, and now I can talk to them. So we go through things so we can get through things, so we can teach people how to do the same thing. Okay, and I'll leave it at that. Amen.
Okay, Kyle. All right, then. I want you guys to get familiar with the paperwork that we gave you. We'll be working out of this document, right? This is our slide sheet. You know, we have it up on the screen, but we're all gonna work out of the same thing, so you'll see what I'm seeing. This green worksheet workbook. We'll do some of that. I don't know if everybody have something to write with, but we'll go through this. There's some questions, some good information, some good spaces to think and ask yourself some of those questions. We ask everyone, because we live in a cell phone society, to please take a moment and do the pre-survey. Please take your phone out. This is how we get grants from the government to be able to do this work. Sometimes we can go into spaces and do them absolutely free. We can give tools and we can give out what we need to give, but we have to do the survey. So we'll take a quick moment. If you need any help, somebody will come around to help you scan the QR code and take the pre-survey. We're gonna do a pre-survey and a post-survey. So while you guys take a couple of minutes, some housekeeping. I'm sure you guys do this already coming in to church, but please put your phone on vibrate or silence. I mean, some of us are on call and we respect that. If you gotta take care of your business, take care of your business. But what we don't wanna do is be disrespectful to people's experience. If someone decides they wanna open up and share, you need something like
For location, one for the city and state.
yes, ma'am. You know, someone opening up about life and their life experience, and then, you know, cruising comes on in the middle of their story. So if you can, cell phones on, vibrate, do not disturb. And then we want to make a mention of the trigger warning. Trigger warnings, if you need to at any moment get up to take care of yourself because something activated you in a way that'll have you heavy, in a way that'll, you know, upset you, in a way that gets you to a space, we are going to respect that moment. And if you need to take a moment to step out, there's somebody moving around to support you. So have your moment, feel your feels. Kyle, I know you wanted to add something in that space.
You know, when it comes to trigger warnings, like I said, being in this space because I'm in church. So every time we bring something up, I always want to add God to the equation, right? So with the trigger warnings, like when I have them, I think about Romans 8:28. You know, for all things work together for good for those that love God, for those who are called according to His purpose. So it's all things. It's not some things. It's not a little bit of things. It's all things. So no matter what you're going through, there's something good that's in it. It just is. We may not feel like that, we may not see it, but that's where faith comes in. And because that verse is in the Bible, I believe it. I believe every word in the Bible. I don't believe the Bible contradicts itself, but we do. You know what I mean? So when it comes to those things, that's what I do. Like something comes up in my life, I go to the Word of God. What do you have to say about this? Because what I have to say, it doesn't get me to where I want to go, but God's Word will.
And then we just got a mention, the way the pamphlet has been handed to you, the post survey shows up first. So I guess as you're scanning your QR code, one of them say post and one of them say pre. We're gonna do the pre first. So before we get to talking and working through this workshop, we're gonna scan that pre first. And when we are all done, we will do the post. So flip through, and then I'm gonna be reading what you guys are reading. I'm gonna be looking at what you are looking at so that we're all on the same page. If we get lost, that's okay, because you just will have to pay me 25-cent fine, and some of us are with us. So I'm gonna do a little bit of what our facilitators are doing in the other room. If you can hear me, clap once. Nobody hears me, that is unfortunate. If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap 2 times. Awesome. So we work from 3 tenets. We work from awareness, acceptance, and advocacy, and what that looks like for like everyday, day-to-day people. Anybody wanna tell me what awareness may look like or sound like to them, what it shows up as in your life? And we're interactive. I'm not just up here to just, I'm gonna get down and walk around and sit down next to y'all. Awareness, what does that make you think of? What does awareness look like to you? Go for it.
Being observant of your surroundings or attentive to situations,
Okay, awareness, observant,
discernment,
awareness. What does it look like to you, Mr. Jones?
Like I said, can you hear me? I'm good?
Can you pass that? You gotta use the mic
Yeah,
for.
it's the mic. Oh, gotcha. All right, like I said, I'm new to this. For me, awareness, like you said, it's everything that you said, right? But what awareness really, it shines a light. Like when God said, "Let there be light," He said Jesus is the light of all mankind. So He's the awareness, He's the truth. So what awareness is, it shines the truth. And sometimes that truth could be an ugly truth, but it shines on it, and it makes us aware of the situation. This is the situation that we have a choice. We can either ignore it or we can deal with it. A lot of times, if it's too hard, we choose to ignore it. And unfortunately, that's the society that we live in. We choose to ignore it. We have a bunch of distractions. Like you said, we have the pills. We have everywhere I go. I could be in my car, all the windows are up, and out of nowhere, I just start smelling weed. And that's on the highway. So these are all distractions. People in our society, they're looking to get away from things that they're aware of. And that's why, and again, I could go on all day, but I can't, but that's why, we're here and we want to do this thing. So when we do this, it's not just to do this or, do church on a Sunday. This is for take these tools, take them home, and do it again. Look over it, get your own information. Take these and say, okay, where can I find to talk about awareness and trauma? Where's this in the Bible? Because it's in there. It's in there.
So I'm gonna help you get through this pamphlet. The pamphlet is going to flip from, the staple is gonna be facing you, the left corner. And that's how you'll be on the same page that we're on. The bottom left corner, so if you flip your pamphlet up, the bottom left corner, left facing you, so I guess it'll be the right. But that's gonna be your first slide. It says trauma is an emotional and psychological response to distress or disturbing events which have lasting effects on an individual's well-being. And there are some examples there. The pandemic was traumatic for our whole world, right? It affected everybody in a way that we weren't used to. Some of us was stuck in our house with our husbands and kids, and it was like, oh my goodness, I am normally doing girls' day. I'm at the spa. I can't go outside. He can't go to the gym. The kids are in the house like, mommy, watch me spin and jump on one foot to the left every day, all day. Yeah. That let us know where our patience ended, right? Grief. Some of us don't know how to deal, what to do with grief. I lost a cousin who died by suicide, and my aunt is not well, right? And she has well moments, but she's not well. This cousin who was schizophrenic was molesting her, and I can tell the story. She was being raped by her son and still is in mourning because her son died by suicide. What do you do with that grief? How do you operate and still have to go to work? Because the jobs is like, okay, we gave you 2 weeks. It's time to come back to work or you lose your job. These things are happening to us and we still got to get up and function. Her coworkers don't know that this is what she's processing, what she's dealing with. She doesn't know. She can't go into her boss and say, hey, I'm dealing with the loss of my son who subsequently was doing this thing to me, but now you want me to handle my patients. You want me to show up and still be. So trauma is showing up in a lot of places that we don't know that it's there. We don't know who's dealing with what. And it affects us. It affects us daily. So on your green pamphlet, I want you guys to take a minute or two. You can answer it if you want to. Everything is private and personal, but you get to share if you want to. Because we're coming in community, again, I'm always going to be transparent. You can share your experiences if you want to. But that first question says, what are some examples of traumatic experiences for you? Keep in mind, what's traumatic for one person may not be for another. Carla mentioned in the beginning her telling her slap story, right? Because she and I come from 2 different backgrounds. I grew up where everybody always got slapped. Your aunties will slap you. Your foster mothers will slap you. Your nanas will slap you. You just get popped. It was a slapping was a thing. So for me coming from being burned, cigarettes, I had a foster mother pick me up by my hair one time. For me, my story is, if it happened to Quatavia. So trauma looked different from me. And here I meet this woman, and at the time I was in my 40s, and she's telling me this story, and I had heard her now for a good 10 years of her telling this story about her as a grown-up being slapped by another grown-up, and then that was trauma. And one day I say to her, why is that trauma? You was grown, she was grown, everybody gets slapped. And she says to me, and again, I was in my 40s then, everybody does not get slapped, Quatavia. It never occurred to me that an adult had never been slapped as a child. I thought I made that up. I didn't hit my kids when they were angry, and when I was angry, they can attest that because I was beat so much, I didn't want them to experience that. And I'm still an old school mama, was a lot of them. So when I say stop, you gotta stop. When I say move, you gotta move. This is the only way I know how to keep y'all alive. But I thought I created that you wouldn't just get slapped on. So for me to meet this person in my 40s tell me that them being slapped as an adult was traumatic, I had to take a step back, even doing this work, and understand that trauma shows up for different people in different ways, and it's debilitating. I've always known I had to shake and move, right? I couldn't imagine being put in a position as a big grown adult in my big grown life and then experiencing a level of trauma like that. So I make sure she tells that story, because how many other people think that everybody gets slapped? I grew up with a whole lot of people. I'm from New York. There's thousands and millions of us up there that all have experienced we get slapped on. And to meet a person this late in life to share, like, no, somebody's hitting me is not a thing that I have experienced, was wonderful. So as you're answering this question, if you want to share, by all means, please stand up and share. We family here, right? I'm new here, but I'm family. Praise and worship is an intimate moment, and I got to get intimate with you guys. So we family. My whole family is here. We all doing church with y'all on a Sunday morning. Well, no, half of us is still home. So a lot of us that's here. But yeah, there's a lot of us that's still not here. If y'all want to share, by all means share. But if not, we'll move on. If you look at, bless you.
So I'll share. Talk about a traumatic experience. Just being yelled at. I was younger, and it kind of crushed my confidence in areas. I believe in who I was as an individual. And the person wasn't meaning to crush me, but in their communication, it was crushing. So just that experience of being yelled at. Traumatic.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for sharing that. And how very important it is for your voice, right? Black men, you guys get to show up for us. I know, I'm sorry, the mic, I'd like to put it down. But showing up for us and sharing that you guys experience trauma too. Sometimes we're so caught up in our own-ness, right? We're not thinking about what's happening around us and who else is being affected around us. On number 2, yes, go for it.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Nope.
Oh, yes.
You can't hear me? I don't want to get up. So, no, I just wanted to, okay. I'm not going to get up again, no, I promise.
You might as well just stay up here.
No, I'm not going to stay up here.
So this is more recent, but I just wanted to share. So I don't think I said the part of the story, like I turned all that pain into purpose, and so this is my purpose. And so it comes easy, it's not work, but it's easy, but it's hard at the same time. So we're now in the Mecklenburg County Detention Center, and Quatavia and I have gone in there. Kyle's gonna go in there soon. We were facilitating, I was facilitating I think it was just me, with a group of ladies for women's programming. And the class is 2 hours. And this particular day, I didn't know this, but they were short-staffed. They didn't have enough corrections officers. So I ended up stuck in the room after the 2 hours for almost another hour. And those walls started closing in on me. And I felt like, is this what it feels like to lose your freedom?
Mm.
And this may sound like nothing, but that night and the next night, I had horrible nightmares about being locked in a room without my freedom. And so the first thing I thought about was my son. I don't ever want my son to experience that. You know, I didn't think about me first, but I did get around to me. And so for me, it wasn't the worst trauma I ever experienced, but it was enough that it stayed with me and hit me in my sleep a couple of nights. And I had to just go out. I know we're going to talk about this, but I had to go out and sit on my deck and just enjoy some fresh air and be thankful for the freedom that I have. And so, again, somebody else could have gone through that and been fine. But for me, being locked in like that, it's like I didn't have anybody's phone number, because there was a phone in there, but I couldn't get to anybody. So that for me was a traumatic experience. But I went back, by the way. Now we have they put a procedure in place so we can get out if we need to get out, so.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. I want you guys to take a moment to look at the second question on the worksheet, and that's for the ACEs. Does anybody know what the ACEs is?
Yes.
Okay, you want to tell us what the ACEs is?
Sure. It's an acronym, but I know it's a test. Isn't it like a trauma assessment, right? And
Yes.
so it's just gonna give you like a series of different experiences that you may or may not have experienced, and you give them a scale, whether or not, and then at the end there'll be a score of how much you've experienced those things.
Tell me your name.
My name is Karia.
Karia. Okay, so the way we celebrate everybody that's here, the little ones will be doing it. The young adults do it. They're too cool for school sometime. But we give them a clap because we're not celebrated, right? Enough. So the way we do our claps is it's a 1, 2, 3 clap, and we're going to do that for Karia for answering that question for us. So congregation together. 1, 2, 3. Carla, what you think? Nope. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. And that's to celebrate, to say yes, that's exactly what it is. ACEs is the Adverse Childhood Experience Test. You have one on the back because sometimes life just be life, and you don't know that watching your mother get kicked down the steps by your father is not normal. You think that that's just the way it is. Pastor shared that being yelled at traumatized him. Some of us grew up where everybody curses at everybody. That's just what it is. That's the way granny talks to granddaddy. That's the way granddaddy talks to aunties. You can take this in your own time. The highest score that you can get is a 10, and I score 10.
Yeah.
So when we do this work, it's so that we bring awareness to the fact that we experience different things, and we're operating with people who experience different levels of trauma. We won't tell you to do it now. You can do it in your own time, but it's just something that's so you know what's happened to yourself in your life and how that shows up for you.
Yeah.
If you go down to number 3 is our cognitive triangle. Everybody learns the cognitive triangle. The little babies are in the room, they're learning the connection between your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. Our teens, we teach them the connection between their thoughts, their feelings, and their actions, because that shows up for us in life. Carla normally goes through the brain and how the brain looks. You have a slide that shows what an active, healthy brain looks like, and then what a brain from a developing child looks like and how the differences are there. Carla, do you want to educate?
I knew you would.
You absolutely. I told you not to go nowhere. I said what I said.
And can I just follow up real quick on
Yes.
ACEs?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing about the ACEs assessment is it's information.
Yes.
It's not a death sentence, it's not a life sentence, it's none of those things. It's to help you understand, what you're carrying
Yeah.
and how increased your risks are for things like depression, anxiety, heart disease, Even people who have a score of 6 or higher are 1,200% more likely to try to die by suicide. That's heavy. That's very heavy, and I knew that about my child. But what I'll say about that is we can't address what we don't know. And so this is knowledge. This is not saying, well, I just need to give up because my score is a 7. No, your score is a 7. So if you know your risk is increased for any of those things, just like if you get a diagnosis of cancer, until you have that diagnosis, you don't know what to do. Most people don't. It's just like if you get a diagnosis of diabetes, right? You don't know really what to do until you get that diagnosis. It's the same with this. It's not necessarily about a diagnosis, it's about having that knowledge. So as when we go into the detention center, I say to the men and women, now that you know you have a high score, you know you have these increased risks, so like maybe you focus on your physical health and your mental health more and put the things in place that then lower your risk. So I just wanted to make sure to share that part because this knowledge is important. That's the awareness and acceptance. Like how does it show up in my life? But then what can I do about it? And I know Quatavia's gonna talk about that some more. So about the brain, everybody have the page with the brain up?
Yes.
So I gotta look at your sheet real quick. So on the left-hand side, you see a brain with a lot of red, yellow. That means it's active. You see the 2 white circles? The 2 white circles are the frontal lobe where your learning and self-regulation centers are. What that means is that the one on the left is very active in those spaces, right? So in other words, we have 2 kids that are going to school. I'm just giving you a scenario. One of the kids hasn't experienced much trauma. That's the kid on the left with the red and the yellow and the green. That's activity. That means it's active. They're learning, they're able to regulate themselves, control themselves. But then you have the child on the right who has experienced a lot of trauma. Deep down in the brain is something called the amygdala. The amygdala is that system that says danger, 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 danger. So if your score is high, like Quatavia just said, her score is high, that amygdala is working overtime saying, protect yourself. So this is what happens with my son. Something that is small to me is a mountain to him. And because he experienced so much trauma as a child, everything is big. Everything is letting me protect myself. We talk a little bit about the bear. Have you guys ever heard the story about the bear? Okay. So imagine you are in the forest by yourself. I don't know how you got there, but you just did. And you can't ask me any questions when I tell you the story. You just gotta go with it. You encounter a bear. Don't ask me what color the bear is. I'm not gonna tell you. You encounter a bear, and the bear's coming at you full steam. Raise your hand if you're gonna fight the bear. Anybody gonna fight the bear? Anybody? Y'all gonna die, but it's okay. Who's gonna flee? Who's gonna run from the bear? Okay, y'all gonna die too. Who's gonna fight, flight? Who's gonna freeze? Who's gonna freeze? Raise your hand. Okay. Y'all might be okay. I don't know. And then who's gonna fawn? Fawn is like people pleasing. Oh, bear, you're so cute. You are the coolest bear I've ever seen. Who's gonna try to reason with the bear and please the bear? Anybody? I probably would, but not. You might, yeah. So the thing is to know kind of what is your natural response when you're triggered or activated. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So with my son, he's a fighter. So the smallest thing for him, he gets big. He blows up. For me, I call myself a recovering people pleaser because I try to work on it. But knowing kind of what your go-to is important. And the reason why I bring up the bear is simply to just get you to think about a crisis or emergency situation. What is your go-to reaction? So in this case, again, looking at the two brains, you have one kid who hasn't experienced much trauma, right? All this activity's going on, they're learning, it's great. Now think about the child who doesn't have stable housing, who's dealing with a family that has domestic violence, who has low self-esteem, and who's just been through a lot, who may not even have food to eat. Do we expect that child to go to school and have the same opportunity to learn as the quote unquote normal child, which I don't know what normal is anymore, but the child who hasn't experienced a lot of trauma? No. So we have to teach ourselves and use these tools to understand how can we get more active in the learning and self-regulation centers. And I wanted to share this with you real quick. My son had an incident in school after his birth mom passed away with a teacher. And I brought this image in. This isn't my child, but I brought this image in. And one of the administrators started crying because it's easy to blame a kid if you don't understand the science behind it. This isn't a bad kid. We see kids in Walmart cutting up. We see kids here and there. And some of them are just spoiled. Like mine is spoiled as well as has trauma. But sometimes the brain is just in protection mode.
Yeah.
And the smallest thing feels big. So one of the things I say to him is it a 10? A 10 out of 10? And his answer is always yes. And then I say, okay, someone died. Someone's in the hospital. Well, no. Okay, well, what number is it really? And it may end up being a 1. It could even be a 0. It's not something that big, but that perspective helps. But Quatavia and Kyle are gonna get to a point of sharing some more tools with you. But that's kind of the story on the brain. Any questions before I turn the mic over again?
So you're talking about defensive mechanism.
Yes.
That wouldn't be.
The knee-jerk reaction, yes. If you lived life in survival mode, if you had to protect yourself, you may not even consciously know it. There's a book called The Body Keeps the Score. The body reacts even if the brain does not, even if we don't consciously know, the body reacts. And so in this case, whatever your knee-jerk reaction is, you may do any of the 4, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. You might do any of those at any given time, but we're gonna learn some tools that will help us take a pause before we just strike out and fight, or before we run, or before we freeze, whatever that may be. But it's just recognizing the way the brain works. This is science. This isn't like our opinion.
Right.
So it's good to know that, because a lot of times we blame ourselves for, why can't I just be like this? Why can't I stop that? But understanding and gaining this knowledge, the awareness and then acceptance, how does it show up in my life, gets us to the point of where we can advocate for ourselves.
Good stuff. Thank you.
I said I wasn't getting that.
Gotcha. All right, I'm gonna do number 3 because I love the fact that when we're talking about the brain right now, and number 3, it says the cognitive triangle. How does the connection between thought, feelings, and actions, behaviors, show up in your day-to-day life? Right now, one thing I want to share with you guys is there's a statistic that I learned about, and it was done in 2020, and y'all can look this up online. Anytime I give statistics, I always want to share where you can look it up. It was the university, but it was in Canada. It was done, and they did a brain study. And what they found out is that the average human has a total of 6,200 thoughts a day. Now, there's some thoughts, they used to say, it used to be anywhere from 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts, but that's like noise. That's like, oh, look at that bird, look at the sky's blue. It's just those things like that. But where thought begins and where thought ends, there's 6,200 of those thoughts that we have a day. Right? Now, here's the interesting fact. 95% of those thoughts are repetitive. Those are the thoughts that you've had today, that you had yesterday, the day before that. Now, just if you're like me, percentages, that's just a high number. I like to put a number to it. So out of the 6,200 thoughts, 5,890 of those thoughts are repetitive. Same thing. And if you think about it, we do that, Now, here's another interesting thing. 85% of those thoughts are negative thoughts. 85%. The number to that is 4,960 thoughts negative, right? So if you were having these repetitive thoughts, majority of those thoughts are negative. So what we're doing, those repetitive thoughts are past thoughts, thoughts that we had, they're negative. So what we're actually doing is we're living our past over and over and over and over again. So when you look at the triangle, those thoughts that we have then produces a feeling in us. So if we're having these repetitive negative thoughts, we're getting repetitive negative feelings, right? Everybody ever wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Anybody ever wake up on the wrong side of the bed every day? You don't have to answer that, right? But that's why, because you're having these thoughts, right? And those thoughts produces a feeling. But the thing is, what causes it is, what keeps it going is the actions. Because if we're gonna have those negative thoughts, those negative feelings, and then those negative actions, that's just gonna bring it on again and again and again. And we're gonna keep doing that. But again, like I said, we're in church, so I always want to bring God into the equation. So we have 95%, right? Is
Go ahead.
95% of those thoughts that we're having are repetitive. 85% of those thoughts are negative. What about that other 5%? What are those thoughts? Right? Those are what I like. They're not only good ideas, those are God ideas.
Amen.
Right? Those are the thoughts that we want to focus on. Right? And again, bringing it back to the Bible, that's why we have stories like David and Goliath. We have stories where you look at Abraham and he went to rescue his nephew Lot. He went up against 5 kingdoms. 5. Abraham wasn't even a warrior. He just armed the servants in his household. Right? Look at the children of Israel. Everybody that they went against, there was more. So I think God knew, he knew about this statistic before I ever found it. Before Canada, they did their research and found it. He always knew. So he put these stories in there just so he could show that, and by the way, those 5%, that's 310 thoughts that we have. And we have those thoughts. Those are the thoughts that we have that bring a smile, that put a smile on your face, right? But then you have those other thoughts that's kicking it. And that ratio, I believe when I did the ratio, is for every 1 positive thought that you have, there's 14 negative thoughts that's gonna, me being from New York, I have the visual, that's like me coming out my house and you have 14 guys with Timberlands on ready to kick my butt. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
But know that you have those 310 thoughts. That's where God is. And he doesn't need a lot, right? He doesn't need a lot. So those 310 thoughts, that's what we want to focus on. And then at the end of the day, that's what this is here is for, is for you to get you to learn how to focus on those 310 thoughts and go into what God has prepared for you. A long time ago, a person told me, one of my mentors, he said to me, it's time to get prepared for what God has prepared for you. And that's it. That's in his word. And when I first heard it, I was like, well, how do I do that if I don't know what he has prepared for me? But it's things like this. It's those 310 thoughts. That's what you focus on.
And you can reduce those 310 with 555. In this space, right? Kyle brought up those 5, that number 5. In this space, here's where we drop a tool for you. In that space between your feelings and your actions, right? You're combating all of those negative feelings, all of those negative thoughts, this negativity is showing up. This is a great time for you to take that moment before you do a thing and think, well, what if I do this negative thing because of these negative feelings? What happens to me in 5 moments, 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 weeks? If I'm upset, I woke up, the same thing, I'm stressed out. I was stressed yesterday. I done woke up, would you say every day? You wake up on the wrong side of the bed every day. I need to go shop because retail therapy is a thing. But if I do this right now, because Amazon take me 5 seconds, because Amazon's program on my phone to get me a Christmas box on May 1st. If I swipe this and I can't afford to pay this light bill, what happens to me with that 5 moments? If I swipe it 2 times, 3 times, 5 times, what happens to my bill on the 1st when it comes up? And I've overdrawn the account and Mr. got to go get me some more money. What happens to the stress? Because he's stressed out, he's overwhelmed, he's dealing with what I done did, right? What happens in those 5 days, that 5 weeks, those 5 months? this is a moment where you take, okay, well, let me take 5 seconds to say, okay, if I swipe this card and it's not time, because sometimes when we get to swipe it, what'll happen to me? Or I can take this 5 minutes, go sit outside and get over myself and thank God that I'm in the house that I prayed for, right? Because sometimes we be living in the prayers and the answered prayers and don't recognize it because we don't woke up on the wrong side of the bed every single day. We had a moment where we had to move out of a house quick, and we have a big family. I have 3 children with special needs. We have 3 support animals, and we're renters. There are 11 at one point because we took in my goddaughter and her daughter with our family of 9. So now it's 11 of us, and I have to house all of us. And I'm a realtor, and a house popped up, and it was like, go look at this house. And I'm calling, hey, Kyle, come on, let's go look at this house. Let's go look at the house. Nobody would go with me to the house. It's like, okay, well, I need to be able to house everybody. Went to the house. It is a bedroom for every single person. It's $500 less than what we pay. It's in the same job, same school, same everything. And God wanted me by myself. He put me in that house. Now, had I moved out of being afraid, had I did the first thing, had I fussed with him because he didn't want to go, had I decided I'm not going to go look at this house, who knows what would have happened. But in taking that moment to do the 5-5-5, what's going to happen if I don't go at all because I'm upset? What's going to happen if I feel like, oh, I can't afford this house because the stats are showing is going to be way more than what we pay? I would still be looking for a place. I live now in an answered prayer that's over. We know that exceedingly abundantly beyond. We know that, and we get to live in that. So in taking that moment of understanding, acceptance, right? Awareness, right? We're going to be aware that bad stuff happen, right? The storm come to the just and the unjust. So we know that. We get that, and we get to operate in that awareness, right? We're aware it happened. We accepted it happened. Yes, I absolutely have to move, and I got to move all of these people. How I'm going to do that? But then we're equipped, and we know what to call on, and we know who to call on it. So as we go through that space, right, we look at what's the impact. Oh,
Can you repeat the 5-5-5?
the 5-5-5.
Yeah.
It's just taking a moment to think about what could happen in 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 weeks. It could be whatever your 5 is. It's taking that moment just to breathe in between what you're thinking and what you're doing. You're feeling it, right? You're going to feel it. So taking that moment to say, what is it that I'm going to do? Because I know what I want to do. I know what I want to do. My new thing is, Lord, I'm praying you put in my head what you want me to do, right? Because before I be praying, Lord, I just need a 25,000 square foot house. I just want all of the things. And God may say, no, I don't want you in a 25,000 square foot house because I want you to be able to go to Africa and feed the babies. And if you're taking care of this house in Charlotte, you can't go to Africa and feed the babies. God sent me to Africa to feed the babies by myself, and I was supposed to go with the mission. I was over there alone. But I didn't pray for that. I was praying for, I want us to go, and we're going to hang out, and we're going to do the thing. And God said, no, I'm going to do what I want you to do. So I had to take my 5-5-5. Okay, Lord, not what I want, not my will, but your will be done. And his way be better than our way. But then he give us these things, right? We learn if I take my 5. Take my 5 minutes. What's going to happen when I do it the way that you want me to do it? How that works. If you go to the green, that 4th question is, how does the impact of trauma show up for a child? We all in mommy mode, and daddy mode, and provision mode, and covering mode, right? We got to think about what's happening to the babies. But what about what happens to you? How did trauma show up for you? For me, I didn't want nothing to be like anything that I grew up, so I ran. Carla shared that with me one time. I wasn't thinking about what I did to make it. And she was like, no, Cortavia, you said no. And I was like, what? And she said, no, you said no. You said you wasn't going to have that. And I did. I was in go mode. We not doing that. We leaving. Kyle, you coming or not? We out of here. We cannot. New York does not have love for us. So we left. Right? That was a thing that I could do. And I didn't know that that was a thing. I didn't recognize me doing that was a thing that I could do. Go for it.
So you didn't just say we're leaving, you said, my kids are gonna live a figment of my imagination.
Absolutely.
And everything that you experienced, you made sure your kids didn't experience, and so you decided, for example, about alcohol and drugs, what did you do?
Said no. There will be no alcohol and no drugs. I wanted them to have an option. That was my thing. I only saw it, so I created in my mind, like, my girls went to, well, I had one kid that went to HBCU, well, because I also raised my niece. So we have some bonus kids. God always putting babies in my hands, and, you know, thank God that he finds that I'm equipped. But, you know, a different world, who watched A Different World? Hands up if you all, right? So I didn't know nobody who went to college, right? I didn't know anyone who went to college. And I was like, oh, this is a cute idea. I like that they doing that. Kwadasi, who is the illustrator, she's also a teacher here at Mecklenburg County. She is my Denise, Jaleesa, and all of the girls who was in there. You know, she went to college because I watched TV, and they were going to live a figment of my imagination. I'm going to create this life that I never saw, and they were going to live it. And he rolled with the punches. He was like, okay, she's crazy.
Real quick.
Can I add something?
Go for it.
I think, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I think one of the things that's really important to recognize is your strengths. Because Quatavia didn't realize what she was doing, but she was actually putting forth like this strategy for her family. She made a decision, not knowing about ACEs, not knowing about all these things, but she knew that she wanted something different.
Yeah.
So the things that you do, I don't care if you know the label for it, what it's called, anything, the things that you do, if you sit in your car for 10 minutes and take some deep breaths before you go inside, that's a coping skill.
Yeah.
So give yourself credit for the things that you do that help you to release and stay calm or get calm. We don't give ourselves enough credit sometimes, and that's what I told her when she's telling me this story. She's like, I just did this. I'm like, no, you laid out a whole strategy. You didn't know that's what you were doing, but that's what you did. And look at your kids. You've got all these college graduates, not just college graduates, you've got these creative kids. I mean, they're all a part of the business because of their skill set. So I'm saying all that to say, let's give Quatavia a clap. Now, how are we clapping here?
Oh,
y'all?
sorry.
One,
One,
two,
2, 3.
I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it.
One of the things I wanted to add to that is it's interesting hearing it because, you know, I lived it. In New York, I'm a New Yorker to the day I die. I'm gonna stay in New York. And when we was living on Long Island in a house that was falling apart around us, and she wanted to take a trip out here, on the way back, we was just dreaming about what Charlotte would look like for us. Had no clue about the how, you know, but literally talking about what was in her imagination, then it got me excited. And one of the things, as we fast forward to now, one of the things that I've learned is when you make a decision, when you go back to those 310 decisions, that 5%, don't worry about the how. You know, you can't do God's part. God is not going to do your part. But He gave us a brain. He gave us an imagination. That's what we do. You know, a while ago I heard that, you know, we were all created in God's image. The first thing that God tells you about Himself is that He's creative. In the beginning, God created. We're created in His image, right? So He created us to create stuff, made us to make stuff, and it starts in our heads. You know, it starts with our thoughts, then it goes to our feelings, and it goes to our actions. So imagine life if you go to those 310 thoughts, and those are the God thoughts, those are the good thoughts. That produces a good feeling, which is going to produce a good action, which is going to propel you forward. You know, so that's why I love this piece, because it's, to me, it's one of the most important. It's the starting point for a new life. When it says, you know, renewing our minds, that's where it starts.
And it's the information piece, right? We go for it.
Can you talk about how, just using your story, you say you were in New York, you know you had to get out, you dreamed of where you wanted to go, and then you started going for it. You talk about the how. How does the 4 F's, the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, how does that play into being willing to go into the house? I know, speaking for myself, that at times I can try to do the opposite of what the trauma was. So instead of just leaning into it, I'm trying to just be the total opposite, just so I don't be like what happened to me.
I love it, and I love that you're skipping. You're skipping because we're gonna talk about advocacy. We're gonna talk about what it looks like for it to show up for you. And I know that I'm long-winded because it'd be so much that you want to give it. Given for me, I'm faith-based, so Christ helped me with everything. That's where my imagination comes from. That's why I know that God is real. That's how I know Jesus is real. That's how I know the Holy Spirit is real, because my how, that's my out. That was my out. I never drank, I never smoked, I never been to jail, and everything says that I should. But I had to be aware of what was happening to me, right? I had to know, wait a minute, this ain't normal. This is not real. And then I had to accept, wait a minute, my people are abusers. I have a whole uncle who we all know molest the kids. And what do? Well, I'm keeping my kids away. They can't go over to Aunt so-and-so house. Oh no, uncle is in the basement. Y'all don't go near the basement because we're protecting the molester, because everybody got an uncle who live in the basement. They live in the basement because if the niece run past him, he gonna do what they do to him.
Right.
Too many of us have that story. So part of the how is being aware that it's happening and accepting that, okay, this is what it is, right? And then we get to advocacy. But in that, we want to make sure that we understand what are some ways that intergenerational trauma shows up in your life. That's going to be number 5.
I just wanted to respond to his.
Okay, go ahead. Go for it. And then we got a hand in the back.
Okay, just really quickly, when we talk about the 555, when we initially started, we have thoughts, feelings, and actions, right? And we take that pause and we say, what could the outcome be? And in the beginning, we start off with, what's the worst case scenario? So if I take this action, what's the worst possible outcome? And so when we were in the detention center, for example, we talked about a story, and without going all the way into it, the 555 ended up being, I'm gonna get arrested, I'm gonna be in booking, I'm gonna be in jail. That was their 555, whatever the 5 increments were. Once you practice it some and get used to that whole concept of taking that pause, you can reverse it and say, what's the best possible outcome? Let me take my 555. What's the best thing that can happen in the next 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days? And so you can write those down too. We had one young lady in the detention center. If she didn't get anything else, she had a composition notebook full of pages of her thoughts, feelings, actions, and her 555. Because if she didn't do that, she would end up kicked out of programming and going into general population. This young lady was 21. She wanted to stay where she was because programming is a little more protected, it's a better environment. But she recognized that. So not only do we look at the worst case scenario, the worst case scenario is to get us to kind of control and to, manage that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. The best case scenario is, so let's say with Quatavia, for example, I would say you didn't have this tool at the time, but your 555 was, if I do something different, I'm gonna keep my kids out of trouble as much as you can, because you can't control everything. I'm gonna give them a nurturing environment, right? And I'm gonna give them the space and opportunity to grow and shine and heal. And so I would say that's the other side of the coin of the 555. Does that help? Okay. I'm going back to my seat, y'all.
That's okay. It's great, and I love this as a team, because we talk about a lot about Quatavia, but I had a partner, right? I had somebody who would ride with me. He was his only child. So here I come with me and my issues and my trauma, and is you coming or not? That kind of thing. And there was partnership. I grew up. There's a question.
It wasn't a question, it was an add-on to your part about in the how and being a believer. I was just gonna say that part of it, so once you've realized, so the part about awareness and action, typically that comes around the time you get tired, right? of your situation and you're realizing, okay, what I'm doing is not working. And so as she pointed out, some of your coping mechanisms were good, but I was even thinking sometimes the things that we use to cope, sometimes they're not good. The things that we've used to self-regulate, they've actually been like damaging you, right? So yes, sitting in the car to decompress could be good, but for some people, then you're isolating yourself, right? You're moving away from your family. And so once you realize like all the things that you're doing, typically that comes when you're tired, as believers, like we mentioned in worship, surrendering. And even to the scripture, Proverbs 6 that Pastor highlighted, the peace of God only comes after we pray and giving it to him, right? So Lord, I'm tired, I don't know what I'm doing. It ain't working out. I know what my family look like. I don't want to look like them. I want my kids to look like that. I want to do better for myself. I don't know how to do it, so that's it. And then the peace of God that surpasses understanding will come over you. And then those whispers, I like to call it whispers from God, the good thoughts, the good things will then start to happen. You're like, oh, it couldn't have been me, it had to be him. So that's where the how comes in, surrendering. And once you realize the things that you are doing and being willing to take on new habits, learning new things, learning to take the 5-5-5, and okay, what I've been doing hasn't been working, and now I want a better outcome. So I was just answering to the how part.
Oh, we love it.
Perfect.
Yeah,
We-
and I also like, and how I always say, my friend and I, Dr. Lisa, one of our favorite quotes when we get confused and confuzzled, because we know God is not a spirit of confusion. So when you're in this process, when you're in your transition, and you get confused and you confuzzled, I always try to pause and reflect back on the goal, right? And recenter myself. But in that, I say that how is none of my business.
That's it.
Because if it was my business, I ain't going to mess it up.
That's right.
Yes.
So then that's when you learn to go back to, like she said, to surrender, because if you get caught up in the how, especially if you're looking at it in the natural sense, like you said, the finances was not there, according to you, right? That you wasn't gonna be able to afford the house according to who? You.
Right.
So you have to go back to the creator, the creative visions. I like the way you said that, I'm gonna steal that, by the way. And you realize that how is none of my business. And it's a sense of relief, for me it is. I can say, you know what, you in here worried, you stressed, anxiety is on 1,000.
Yes.
Why? Cause you in God's business. Now leave it, go pray about it and leave it there, so you can move on with life.
I love it. I love it. And y'all are all here. As we look at these worksheets and the worksheet, the pamphlet, we list how it shows up, right? The stress, the anxiety, the isolation. Because I'm a person to decompress, I will sit in the car. But sometimes in the car it's 2 hours. It's like, wait a minute. I think in my mind, okay, I've been home. I came straight home from work, but I done sat outside. I didn't put my rice on. I didn't turn that crock pot off. I didn't do the things because isolation, right? I have done that. And it's like, okay, Carla be calling, you still in the car? I'm home, you know. Yes, but I have isolated. It's a lot happening. I got to do a lot, but take it to God. When I surrender, I don't need 2 hours in the car. But you have to learn that, right? That's a part of that advocacy part. That's a part of what you can do for yourself. In the worksheets, I want you guys to make sure y'all read over them. Some of them we'll go through and we get to talk to. We don't want to keep y'all all Sunday, right? We still want you to have your day and do what you need to do. But knowing that these are the things that we get to consider when life is lifing, right? When mental health is calling us, when it's knocking on our door and it's at the job. Something is wrong with my boss. I know they ain't wrapped too tight, but they don't care that I had a bad day. They don't care that I lost my cousin or that I have a daughter who's suffering with bipolar 1 disorder when they got a bunch of files that don't mean nothing to me and nobody else. So it's something that we need to consider. What are some ways that intergenerational trauma can show up for you? Also, what are some... Right now, I'm reading in the handbook. That's starting with question number 5 in the worksheet. In this other pamphlet, there's a big orange circle, and it just highlights what we can look for, and it also goes over the 8 dimensions of wellness. The handout and the worksheet, they work hand in hand. So those pamphlets, that pamphlet and those pages all work together. they were stapled upside down. We was doing the most, and it is okay because all of the information is in there. And if not, you have our phone number. So if you need to call and we need to go over some things some more, we can. I just don't want us to leave here without considering how intergenerational trauma shows up. It shows up with health issues. We know as Black and brown people, we're suffering with diabetes and high blood pressure. Circulation has been a big, big deal. Women were holding tension in our shoulders and our breasts and our chest and not doing or saying anything. Our hair is falling out and we're calling it tragic alopecia, and it's not, it's stress. We're vitamin D deficient. There's all kinds of things that's showing up. It shows up in finances. It shows up in addictions, right? Domestic violence. We're yelling at each other. We're disrespectful to our spouses. If we have spouses, we decided we don't want spouses. We're going to be by ourselves when we were created for union. But it's okay if we afraid. I don't know if I trust myself. It's all kinds of things that show up. And this paperwork, we're not end-all be-alls. We usually preface it by saying we are not the social workers. We are not the therapists. But therapists and social workers do God's work too, right? They're in there. They're able to compartmentalize and say, well, I can lean on my therapist. Know Jesus. She had to.
That's right. That's right.
You know, because open this book up and say the thing that you need to say, but understand that this is my foundation. So where you end, that's where God go. That's a part of the way I advocate for myself that I know. So we talk about that. On number 7, there are 7 dimensions of wellness plus 1. It's 8 dimensions of wellness. If you're in social work, you'll know that and you'll see that. And we just go over where to feel, right? Take that moment in your emotional life, your spiritual life, your physical life, right? What's going on with you intellectually, socially, financially, your environment, right? You can't want to be well and you're in a place that's sick, right? I know with a lot of the addiction counseling, my biological mother went through all of the drug abuse and people, places, and things was a big part of her education. It hasn't worked for her yet, but God still got her here, so I don't know what he planned on doing. But she alive, and bless her heart. And then our occupation, right? Sometimes intergenerational trauma has told us you do not deserve the job. Don't apply for the work because you are underqualified. You is Quatavia with no education, right? You are Kyle with all them kids and minimal qualifications. And trauma does that. It whispers in us that we're not good enough, which keeps us undereducated, underemployed, and struggling. You struggling, it perpetuates stress because now I don't have the money to do this. I can't make the decision to go into the new house. My faith is here because maybe only God can do blah, 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 right? Maybe only we put him in this box. So we don't even go all out with advocating for ourselves. With number 8, it's on this green sheet. What is an example of advocating for yourself or someone else? Now, we talked about God, we talked about 555, and y'all have gotten quiet. So now, I'd like for y'all to scream out some ways, maybe not scream, but respectfully. How do we advocate for ourselves and other people? Somebody tell me how you could advocate for yourself in any situation. Okay, who you talking to? Anyone. Okay. How you advocating for yourself and other people? No, pastor, and then.
I'm advocating for myself. For myself is slowing down, and taking the time to realize that every day is a blessing.
Hey.
To enjoy every day, and to tell myself that I can turn the computer off. I don't have to fix everybody's problem today, but I can go out, take a walk, go out and run, go out and do a bike, whatever I have to do.
Health.
To have some peace.
Over here, somebody, how y'all advocate? Go for it.
For myself, I would say just taking care of myself. I mean, it's hard to help somebody else if I'm just broken and not getting any healing or just taking care of myself.
So how are you taking care of yourself? What are you doing?
Lately, I just been not answering the phone.
Come on, turning off the
To be honest,
phone.
I mean, because it's like I feel like everyone, like in my family, is just constantly calling me, do this, how to do this, what to do that, and I'm the youngest, but I feel overwhelmed, and so the pastor that literally, I see him call, but I won't answer.
All right. Behind, go ahead.
Be grateful.
Ooh,
Yes.
I love that. Being grateful. Yes. I see you. In the burgundy shirt, I see you. Yes. How are you advocating for yourself or someone else?
I would say believing in myself,
Okay.
and knowing my abilities and strengths, and like you said, sometimes your trauma tells you you're not worth this, you shouldn't try for that job, but going for it anyway.
Yes,
Facing
going
fear.
for it anyway. I see you. The brother behind her, he got it. He want to say it, but he being quiet because I only got two
For
more.
myself, because I am in the school system, just for
Ooh,
myself,
bless
I
your
would
heart.
just shut down everything. Turn off phones and just go in the house and just pray. That's my way of just advocating myself, because sometimes being in the school system, it can be overwhelming sometimes. So for myself, I just got to shut down everything. And for other people, because I deal with high school students, myself aggravates them and just giving them a space to just open up
I
and to
love
be
that.
their self.
Safe spaces. Go ahead.
So I wanna challenge you all a little bit, because I think everything everybody said is definitely advocacy. I'm gonna talk about it from the perspective of if you have a want or a need.
But I want you to get the mic
Yes,
as you do
ma'am. I
that.
said I would. Okay, I just need to give up, right?
Yes,
Okay.
it's okay.
Okay, if you have a want or a need, let's say you're a parent or you have a niece, nephew, little cousin, something like that, and they need medical care. And the doctors say, we can't help you. What are you gonna do?
Go find the resources to get help.
Go find a resource. What if they say, I don't know if this is a good fit, then what are you gonna do?
Find another resource.
Find another resource. We go hard for our kids, right? Okay, so now let's say you have the need or the want. Let's say it's a need. What are you gonna do? Let's say you have, let's say a medical situation, and you can't find the support that you need. What are you gonna do? Say what? Go to God, and then what? Pray about it, and then what?
Find a support group that fits my needs.
Learn how to ask for help. If you don't know the answer, we don't have all the answers, right? When I got custody of my son, I had a spreadsheet that had 45 different resources for my son. Do you think I have a spreadsheet for 45 resources for me? I don't. But I had to realize, just like somebody said, I heard somebody say you can't pour from an empty cup, right? I had to fill up my own cup to really be able to be his parent and parent him. So here's my question. When you advocate for yourself, let's say you're going for a job. The statistics say that men in general, not all men, I think it's lower for black men, will have 5 or 6 out of 10 qualifications and apply anyway. It says for women, we need to have 9 out of 10 before we'll even consider applying. I remember having a conversation with my sister for like 30 minutes. I don't know if I should apply to this. I don't know, I don't know if this is the right fit for me, this and that. And I'm like, you're just submitting a resume. That's it. It's okay. You can even say no if you get in the interview and you don't like it. But we are hesitant to take those steps for ourselves to say, so what if I have 6 out of 10 qualifications? I have these other 10 things that take me up to 15, really. And I know how to present myself, I know how to communicate, and if I don't know, I know where to get the help to do it. So the question is, how are you proactively advocating for yourself, whether it's like, for me, my big thing is exercise. It clears my mind, it helps me, I have to go do it to release. The question is, what are you doing proactively to advocate for yourself? It doesn't have to be about a medical condition or a mental health condition. It can be anything. Are you willing, raise your hand if you're willing to ask for help. Be honest.
So I see a lot of yeses and I see some nos. And so I'm gonna say, if you don't take, well, I already said if you don't take anything else, so I'm not gonna say that again, but
Take another thing.
take another thing. Thank you. Be willing to ask for help, not because you're being selfish, not because, it's all about me. You cannot be the best parent, sister, brother, husband, wife, cousin, teacher, whatever you are, if you're not replenishing your cup. So just remember that. It's not a nice to have, it's our responsibility to ourselves. Think about one of your worst moments. Sorry, just think about it. How good of a parent could you be in that moment? I think about moments when I was falling apart and then my son needed me. I gotta do something to get myself together because I am his only parent. So I have to do that for me in order to do it for him. So those who weren't willing to raise your hand, work on being able to raise your hand. Did you have something? Oh, I thought I saw you raise your hand. Okay. Does anyone have anything else they want to add about advocating for yourself?
Come on now. Yes.
So I was just basically co-signing what you said. I've definitely been the mama bear for my kids. I will tear the whole hospital down for anybody else, actually, because I do have a history of healthcare. So it's like my pet peeve. I hate for people to go into healthcare situations and get poor service. And I will walk the halls and do all these things, but when it comes for speaking up for me, what I'm learning now through help, right? I reached out, I got therapy, I got support, and I'm honest with myself and my situation. I've even become more honest because in our culture, my grandma always taught me, make it happen, get it done. It was, quitting wasn't an option, right? But that in turn showed up for me with never admitting I needed help, never admitting I couldn't handle it. So now I'm learning how to say in moments, look, I don't have the capacity. I'm unable to do this right now. That's not saying I can't do it. I just can't do it right now. And for that has been a way that I've learned to advocate for myself. It's just being real with how I'm feeling and not letting that equate to failure. I think something you guys said earlier made me think, when we was talking about the trauma, the yelling and the cursing and the drugs and stuff, some of which I had all of that, right? But the biggest thing for me was my mom was a perfectionist. She was the classic case of OCD. I jokingly said it was like sleeping with the enemy, but I'm truthful because she did not like her cans turned a certain way. I remember her putting her hand all the way to the back of a closet, throwing all the towels on the floor for me to redo because one towel was not folded the way I was supposed to fold it. What that did for me, I think one of the questions is, how does that trauma show up now as an adult? So now I don't like imperfection. I'm a perfectionist. I don't deal with okay, right? We'll tell our kids that. I'll tell you that. Oh, it's okay, Kwani. That's okay. You didn't have to do it perfectly. But for me, internally, that's unacceptable. And so now identifying it and then now understanding that as long as I gave my level best, as long as I trusted God in that situation, again, like you said, God is the anchor.
Yes.
I don't know where I would be without him.
Yes.
But when I turn back to that truth, that he is my everything and he can support me through it all, then it's not so much of a failure anymore. Whereas before it was like, life is over. Dr. Lisa is a good friend of mine. She would tell you one time I was in college and I cried in the parking lot for 30 minutes because I got a grade on a test. And she came, she drove down Independence on 1,000. And she thinking, oh my God. She's like, you can do this. You're okay. Da, 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 da. She said, what did you make? I made 100, but I missed the extra question.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying? But
Wow.
for me, that was failure.
Right.
Because I knew the answer. Why couldn't you do it, Kamika? And she was like, girl, you made me come all the way down the highway this fast. You were thinking it was over. But I had to learn that was okay. I did my best. And my teacher told me, she said, baby, when them doctors get them degrees on the wall, it don't know what that GPA is.
Listen.
Some of them barely made it, and you will never know it because they get the same piece of paper that you're gonna get when you complete this class. And I'm still working on it. Y'all still pray for me.
I
But
heard my baby say that. She used to
definitely,
get degrees.
you know, what trauma can from your childhood and the expectations can show up.
Two things. One, a book for you, Perfectionism, the Sure Cure for Happiness. Two, no is a complete sentence.
Period.
No is a complete sentence.
We are not going to keep you too much longer. Kyle had something that he wanted to say, and I just want to wrap it up to make sure that you guys get to enjoy the rest of your Sunday, but also be able to walk out of here just taking some tools, something that you can remind yourself of, in your day-to-day lives.
One of the things that I wanted to really just end with is when my wife was saying, when you're advocating for yourself, what do you do? One of the things that when she pointed to you, you had said pray, right? But then she was like, well, then what do you do? Didn't really have an answer for that. So, and that's what all of us, and one of the things that I've learned, and when I'm reading the Bible, I look for patterns. I'm starting to call myself a truth nerd because I realize that I don't know the answers. I just don't, right? So I got to find out from the one who does. And one of the things that I see with prayer, when we pray, God gives us something to do. So I literally believe that I don't care what it is you pray for. If you're praying for with a sincere heart, He's did it. He's done it already, right? But when He does it, He may put it over there, right? And it's our job to have faith because we can't please God without it. So it's our job to take those steps. Now, we know that God already gives us strength, right? He has the strength. He wants us to lean on Him. That's where we find the peace. But it's our job to take courage because strength don't mean nothing if you don't use it. So that's like I said, God's not going to do your part. You can't do His. God's part, He gives us strength. Our part, we take the courage. Know that we have that strength. Like when David went up against Goliath. Goliath, 10 feet tall, 6 fingers on each hand, and David's this little boy. He knew that God gave him the strength, but he had to take that strength, right, and then take courage. He did that on his own. Like, you got to take that courage. You got to have that faith. When we read this word, when we get the tools, we got to then, oh my God, how do I apply it? And believe that He's going to put you in positions to apply it, and then go for it. And it's going to stretch you. It might be scary, but do it anyway.
So we just want you to take this moment to embrace where you are right now. I heard people say be grateful, give yourself grace, identify the gaps, like where you can't show up for yourself, where you haven't shown up for yourself, but identify your goals, right? What's your dream? What do you want to go to next? What do you want to do beyond what you're doing right now? And it's okay to do that. It's okay to say, okay, what's next for me? God, where do you want me to show up next? How can I be here for you? How can I serve you better? How do I be my whole self so that I can effectively go out into the world and do the things that you would have me do? We skip through breathing, but breathing is such a big deal. Normally, I would have you do a body scan. Normally, I would have you we could do physiological. I know we gotta go, and I know our team is ready.
We're gonna do that. We wanna do it then?
Go ahead. Yep.
Okay. So I don't have to have the mic, right?
No, I think.
Okay. So if everybody can sit with their feet flat on the ground.
Or you can stand if you want to.
Yeah, you can stand if you want. Either way. You sit up straight if you don't mind. Now, when we inhale, what do we inhale through? Nose. When we inhale, and this is gonna seem weird to some people, because it was weird to me. When you inhale, your stomach should inflate, your diaphragm. We're inhaling, our bellies should get big. Our chest should expand, okay? When we exhale, what do we exhale through? Like we're blowing out a candle, a balloon, whatever. So we should hear it. Don't breathe too hard on your neighbor, but we'll do that, okay? So we're gonna do it. Feet flat on the ground. So if you want, you can put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. It's up to you. So we're gonna inhale. Inhale again. Exhale. So inhale. Your belly should start getting big. Inhale again. Exhale. Your stomach should flatten. So why is breathing so important? It calms you. It helps,
I heard somebody over
actually
here
helps
say it.
reset your brain. They do it in the military. They do it in therapy. They do it in Pilates class, which is what I do. They do it, huh? You love Pilates?
Labor.
In labor. Lord have mercy, yes. You know, they teach it in a lot of, in karate, in jiu-jitsu, that's it. I'm gonna teach you one more thing about breathing, and this is what we taught kids, so you'll know if you have any little kids with you. It's called square breathing. Are you gonna help me demonstrate the square breathing?
Kyle's gonna help you
Kyle,
demonstrate.
okay, okay. So with square, if you can stand up, please stand up.
And shake a little bit before she starts, just because we've been sitting down. Y'all did great. Shake it out. Hit the
So
snake
I'm
real
gonna face
quick.
the way you face and how you're gonna face them.
Just follow
So
what
we
you
start off with our right hand pointing down. Just point down, point. Yeah, your right hand's pointing down. Basically what we're gonna do, can everybody see me? We're gonna make a square with our hands, but we're gonna do it while we breathe, okay? So we're gonna start off, we're gonna inhale for 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, while closing your square.
Just what we teach the kids. Let's do it again. Inhale.
1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, while closing your square.
So this is in the book, My Big Notebook. This is a breathing exercise for the kids that we teach them. So if you're disciplining your kid, they say, hold on, I gotta do this square breathing. You know what it is. But no, these are just 2 breathing exercises that can really help with resetting the brain. And you can even do, like, there's a breathing exercise where you can just do inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, like that. But just give yourself, like, do it slowly. So that's it. Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, we're doing the
Yes.
breathing exercise and things is coming to me, and I have to. Like I said, I'm a truth nerd, right? One of the things that I've learned with breathing is so important. I don't know if anybody's ever looked at the Hebrew language, and when you say the word Yahweh, they don't even say the word, they breathe it, because as you inhale, so it's when they say it is. That's how you say it. That's God's name. It's in a breath. So when He says He breathed the breath of life into us, I believe that he gave us His name, and that's why we carry His image, and that's why breathing is so important.
Yes. Appreciate you. We're going to leave with you, but we want you to have, as you're walking out, stand up your support system. You guys talked about getting support. We talked about therapy. We talked about those things. It's okay to stand up your support system. If Auntie does not know how to fix your car, don't call Auntie to be your mechanic, right? You get the people in those places that they are the professionals at. Also, trusting yourself in the process. We are faith-based people, so you know that you have the support of a higher power. You guys have each other, so making sure that you're trusting yourself in the process. It's okay for you to be where you are right now. Trusting yourself is also bringing in the help. And refreshing your support system is good to do when refreshing your support system is good to do when those old relationships run dry, or you have a relationship that you just need to spark some new energy. We get to change, we get to grow, and we get to bring in new help. The way we end is celebrating all of ourselves. So this time we'll count to 3, but we'll give ourselves 10 claps. Y'all with me? Okay. Kyle, you with me? Carly, you with me? All right, Pastor, you with me? First Lady? All right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you.
Okay, everybody. Your takeaway is identify one thing that you're going to celebrate about yourself. I don't care if it's this small or as big as this room, as big as this city. Whatever it is, one thing you're going to celebrate about yourself. And then lastly, I just want to share that a lot of what we do, Oh, yeah, we gotta do the post survey. Sorry, on the back, you see the lady, please do your post survey. It helps us to make things better. Now I just lost my whole train of thought.
That's okay, you got it.
Oh, I know what it was. Okay. We consider ourselves bridge builders to therapy. So if anyone is interested, we do have a clinical partner. It's Concrete Roses Life Center. I will share that information with Minister Kamika and Pastor Wallace. They are excellent. I use them for my own son. I wouldn't share it if I didn't believe in them. If you are interested in getting some additional support and services, I'm happy to make sure you're able to get connected. Thank you so much for giving us your time today. Thank you for completing the pre and post survey. It means so much. And your active participation. Thank you to our magnificent facilitators. And we will be here if you have any questions. We'll hang out for a little bit. Thank you so much. God bless.